950 miles of new train tracks. They're part of a megaproject and $29 billion gamble by the Mexican government. They make up the Maya train, which opens to passengers on December 15th and is set for full completion in February 2024. ¡Viva el Tren Maya! ¡Viva! Mexican officials promise it will enrich the region by ferrying 8,000 passengers a day from Cancun to Tulum to Merida, among other highly trafficked tourist destinations. It'll cost about 4 pesos per mile, which officials say is cheaper than driving or flying. But
the risk of getting it wrong is extremely high.
Here's what the Maya train says about Mexico's drive for growth and the costs that come with it.
Este es un proyecto para reactivar la economía.
The peninsula's wealth is concentrated along the coasts due to tourism, which accounts for about 9% of Mexico's GDP.
This is a very unequal region. It has some cities that have very intense economic activity, like Merida and Cancun, and there are other regions which have very low level of growth.
This is Antonio Escuela. He was Mexico's environmental attorney general in the 90s. Now, the government says the train will help disperse that wealth, calling it
Progreso con justicia.
The government says the Maya train will encourage tourists to venture beyond the beach and visit indigenous cultural sites with a convenient form of transportation. By 2030, 715,000 jobs will be created in the 16 municipalities with a train station, plus 150,000 in rural areas and another 80,000 in construction. And focused growth in Mexico, like the train, could add $5.2 billion in value to the economy. Stimulating tourism was a key part of President Lopez-Obrador's platform when he was elected to office in a 2018 landslide.
¡Viva México!
That's also when he announced the Maya train. It's funded by a tourism tax, as well as funds diverted from other programs.
It's a typical thing in many politicians that the works that they start, they want to be there for their opening. So to make clear that it's part of their legacy.
With Lopez-Obrador set to leave office in 2024, the year the train would be completed, the project's budget has ballooned from $7 billion to about $29 billion. A spokesman for the Mexican government said the budget increases were due to track additions, minimizing adverse effects on protected areas, as well as pandemic-related inflation.
The biggest challenge is, I think, chaotic urban development around the stations. If you don't have this very aggressive planning that intervenes the land market to make sure that people have cheap land to build their houses close to the hotels and restaurants where they're going to work, the kind of settlement model is going to be a disaster.
These towns along the train's path are already strained by population growth. This is Playa del Carmen, and its population rose from about 43,000 in 2000 to 304,000 in 2020. Sanitation researchers say that all those people overwhelmed infrastructure, and sewage seeped into the water supply. What's more, indigenous Mayan councils are worried that increased tourism might hurt historic Mayan sites, like all of these, that are key to their heritage.
These places are very fragile, and it is not a good idea to put a flow of people into them, as you can see now in Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza, which is here along the train route, sees over 2 million visitors a year. Recently, some tourists have damaged the structures by climbing them, aggravating locals. But Mexico's tourism board is collaborating with UNESCO to protect these 6 World Heritage sites with train stops. Future damage to ruins due to increased traffic from the train could perhaps be avoided, experts say, if the potential effects had been properly studied with an environmental impact report. Those assessments look at environmental and archaeological issues, as well as water quality. But Lopez-Obrador bypassed them, saying the train was an issue of national security. In May 2023, Mexico's Supreme Court ruled the government's actions were illegal. But that same day, Lopez-Obrador overrode the decision with another executive order.
So this is not only an environmental problem, it's a constitutional problem.
A spokesman for the Mexican government declined to comment on the matter. But some experts say the biggest cost is environmental. Take the cenotes, or underground freshwater caves. Some have collapsed or been contaminated due to the construction. Cenotes make up the Great Mayan Aquifer, the source of drinking water for 5 million people in southeast Mexico. Archaeologists have discovered areas under the tracks where just 3 feet of limestone separate the train from a cenote.
Well, Yucatan has a very peculiar geography. It's a water system that's very delicate.
A government spokesman said that environmental impact assessments, regulations, and mitigation measures have been implemented to minimize damage. And Lopez-Obrador says that cenotes haven't been affected.
Porque se conservaron cenotes, ríos subterráneos.
And the rainforest is safe.
Nosotros no vamos a destruir.
As tourism moves forward in the Yucatan, Lopez-Obrador's government says it is excited.
Se rompieron todos los récords el año pasado. 30 millones de visitantes a Cancún. Y de ahí la importancia del Tren Maya.
Lopez-Obrador will be leaving office in September 2024, but experts say it will take much longer to learn if the Maya train will have a positive or negative effect on his legacy and the region.
Viva México! Viva!